Good morning. And thank you, Sue, for that lovely piano player. I know what your order of service says, and I hate to disappoint you, but I am not Dan Hadley. I am Larry Coleman, and I'd like to welcome you on behalf of the board. At Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Shenandoah Valley, we encourage everyone to be true to the truth that you know in your heart. And it doesn't matter if you connect with that here or another religious tradition, or if it's a scientific foundation, whatever way works for you. We often like to say, and say it with me if you like, we don't have to think alike to love alike. Exactly. And though we have no official creed, you can read our mission statement. It's on the front of the order of service you received, and you can read the 8 principles we like to abide by, which are on the back. At this point, we would like to read a land acknowledgement. UUCSV acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is the ancestral home of the Cherokee as well as other indigenous tribes, people. The Cherokee, through their stewardship, understanding, and conservation, survived and continue to thrive in this land. We acknowledge their enduring connection to their homeland. I would like to suggest that you take a look at the bulletin board when you go out here. It's on your right in the foyer, or foyer, depending on how you like to pronounce it. And on that, you'll find all kinds of nifty stuff about things that we're doing, things that's happening in the community, a lot of interesting stuff. So take a look at the bulletin board on your way out. I looked around the room and I saw faces I didn't recognize, which means either there are some new people here or the dementia's setting in a little stronger. So what we'd like to do is give you an opportunity, if this is your first or second time here, or perhaps if you haven't been here in a while and you're back, to stand up, say your name, and tell us where you're from. And we'll start over on this side. Anybody here for the first or second time or back again?
I'm a member. My name's Chris, but I have my 2 dear friends from Salt Lake City, Diane and Catherine, with me today. They're visiting.
Diane and Catherine.
Yes.
Thank you. Anybody else on this side?
I'm John, this is Julie. This is not our first time here, it's probably our 3rd time here. We love visiting you. We're from Winslow area. And it's worth the drive over here for John.
Thank you. You enjoyed our peanut please. Anybody else from over on this side? Yes.
Hi, I'm Val Carter, and I'm not sure if I'm related to Reverend Carter, maybe. I'm visiting from Bethesda, Maryland, which is the home of River Road and Cedar Lane.
Yay.
And I'm on my way to the mountain, so if anyone's going up there this week, look for me.
Thank you. Glad you could be here today. This side? How about this side? You've been waiting patiently. Now's your chance. Yes.
My name is Emma and this is my mom, Holly, and we're from Swannanoa.
Wow. Came all the way from Swannanoa. Thank you. Anyone else? Going once, twice? Okay, well, thank you so much. You know, one thing I'm aware of, it takes courage, because I've done it. It takes courage to come into a brand new community for the first or second time, and so we appreciate you being here. If you have an interest in learning any more about us, or if you want to receive our newsletter or just stay in touch, you'll find these little white cards either in the pew in front of you, or if you don't see one there, you'll see it in the back. And you can either just put it in the collection plate or just put it on the table in the back on your way out, and we'll contact you. Today, boy, did you come on a good day. Because this is Potluck Sunday. And for those who are thinking, oh my God, I didn't bring anything, don't worry about it. We always have enough food to feed the neighborhood. So stay around. It's a great time to meet people, find out if this is the kind of community that you'd like to spend more time with. And special day today, we also have kind of a jewelry craft sale that's being put on by new Americans that we've associated ourselves with and came here from Afghanistan and are now making a new life in this country. And one of the ways that they hope to support themselves is by making jewelry and crafts, and they will be outside during the potluck, wander out there, see things you can't live without, and pick those up. At this point, if you would kindly throw your cell phones out the window or in some other way, make sure they're not going to make any noise during the service, because you don't want to see Michael when your cell phone goes off and he's giving service. It's not a good look. I'm saying, and now we will begin our service. For me, I always think we will now continue, because everything we do is in service. So we will now continue our service.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, it is potluck time, and I will get you out of here in time for it. So these words, it's always fun looking for words to open up with. So I just want, this is by Unitarian Universalist George C. Davis. I thought this was very apropos. To be strong enough to gain some mastery over ourselves, and humble enough to be willing to learn from others. To be brave enough to choose the right road, no matter how hard it might be, and patient enough to keep on in spite of the obstacles. To be wise enough to know our own shortcomings, and honest enough to admit the excellence of others. To be proud enough to command the respect of strong individuals, and gentle enough to win the love of little children. To be careful enough to protect the good of others, and generous enough to share our own. These are our aspirations for this day. So we'll do it one day at a time. It's hard enough to try and do this all the time. But these are the affirmations for this day. So thank you for being here. Now, please rise as you are willing and able, and join in our opening hymn, which is a new hymn. So be easy on yourselves. Number 160. our responsive reading by Norman Cousins. In the back is a grade hymnal, number 651, The Body is Humankind. I am a single cell in a body of 4 billion cells. The body is humankind. I am a single cell. My needs are individual, but they are not unique. Let me read that again. I am a single cell. My needs are individual, but they are not unique.
I am interlocked with other human beings in the consequences of our actions, thoughts, and feelings.
I will work for human unity and human peace, for moral order and harmony with the order of the universe.
Together we share the quest for a society on the whole equal to our needs.
A society in which we need not live beneath our moral capacity and in which justice has a life of its own.
We are single cells in a body of 4 billion cells. The body is humankind.
The choir is going to sing Die Gedanken sind frei. And this is a very old folk song and protest song that comes from the Middle Ages, the German peasant wars. And I just especially want you to know Die Gedanken means the thoughts or my thoughts. My thoughts are free, regardless of who may try to oppress them.
Hashem. So give them another hand. Why don't you? All right. Now is the time to come up and say your piece. I think this is on. Share a joy and a sorrow. Oh boy. Well, I think you can do it this way, otherwise I would break it.
Hi, I'm Anna, and if I came up here, as a disclaimer, every time I had a joy or a sorrow, you would just see me all the time, and I know I would see all of you all the time. But this week was great on a couple of things. Sorry, I'm running because I came back from helping with kids. Last Sunday, 4 of us from this church went to Grace Covenant and were able to participate in the 3rd of their racial justice series. And they had an amazing panel of people that are involved in reparations. And I know that I feel like I really try to keep on top of things, and I learned a whole lot. And there are 2 more in the series this summer, and it's posted out there and it's in the Current. So I encourage you, if you have a passion for racial justice, which I think affects us all, that's something wonderful to do. And then last night, I mean, I've had lots more, but the only one I will tell you about is Allison Russell is a singer-songwriter who opened for Cadmo last night. And she is an amazing young artist whose new piece, whose new work is, it's an all-women's band. She's got an incredible voice, and she's singing about being a survivor and singing joyfully about being a survivor. So look her up and sing with her. She's wonderful.
Good morning again. I'm still Larry Perlman. And we could just have one George, or what would Michael do for the rest of the time? So, but I do have a joy to share. Last week I mentioned that my brother was in for getting a pacemaker. He's out now, and went perfectly. He's feeling good, and he's recovering from his knee replacement. He's doing really well.
Oh my God, are y'all really gonna do that? We'll be out by 11:30.
Hi, I'm Andy, and I want to ask Diane to light 2 candles. As a lot of you know, my background is Russian and Ukrainian, and I want to light a candle for the people of Odessa, whose cathedral, the Transformation Cathedral, was bombed in 1936 by Stalin, and again by Putin yesterday. And fortunately, only 1 person was killed, but I know the Ukrainians will rebuild the cathedral again. But I also want to light a candle that uplifts me. In 1955, Emmett Till was killed. And this Tuesday, President Biden is going to declare a national monument in honor of him and his mother for the sacrifice they made for civil rights and human rights. So that, I think, should uplift us all.
I'm going to stand right here and not cross these ladies. I have a couple of joys. My first one is that we got through Diga Duncan. Anna wasn't has been a cheerleader because she knows. I looked at her and I said, Bailey. that I want to share is I'm very pleased to say that I'm going to serve as your president of the board for another year.
Thank
We have a wealth of energy that has infected in a good way the board, and I'm so happy. I would love for the board members who are here to stand, please, so that you can see the folks who work tirelessly behind the scenes on your behalf. I know some are still working. Oh, there's Latrina back. Great. So we've got 2 of our 3 new board members here: Peter Howe, Fletcher Walsh, and Susan Hurley. I think she's across the pond this week. And then Larry and Marty, of course, you know. So thank you all. I look forward to serving with you this year.
Okay, let's do it. We'll get out early. Well, but before that, though, I'd like to invite you to join in the spirit of prayer and meditation, and of course, afterwards, we will have our time of quiet. For those of you who, for whatever reason, did not choose to come up, just know we keep you in our hearts and in our minds. And thank you, Diane. This is called Spirit of Compassion by Brother Richard Gilbert. O Spirit of Compassion, enter our hearts, we pray. Be with us in the hard hours. Help us to be kindly this day. O Spirit of Unity, help us enter into the pain of our neighbors. Let us walk where they walk, that we might speak a gentle word along the way. O Spirit of Love, enlarge our sympathies toward all who are troubled. Let us be generous of heart, that we might forgive and be forgiven. O Spirit of Thanksgiving, let us be grateful for hands that serve, for those who give, and for those who receive. O Spirit of Life, let us walk together in our weakness, that by treading the path together, we may be made strong. O Spirit of the Spheres, help us to face the mystery of being. Secure us in the larger patterns we can trust, and bless us in this holy day. And now, while our minds are one, for this brief moment, I leave you all with the eloquence of silence. And so it is. The Prophet Muhammad, blessed be he, reminds us that we cannot want for ourselves what we do not want for others. And so in that spirit, we will now collect this morning's offering. Yes, I haven't forgotten. Come get the money. We thank you, and generously, you gave generously, and we are eternally grateful. So thank you. Sometimes I forget. Okay, I got some bad jokes that Larry Perlman gave me this morning. But if you don't like them, don't get mad at Larry. They come from AARP. And apparently he gets it, that magazine. Okay. The boss says to the employee, how come you only get sick on work days? I guess I have a weekend immune system. I know. Man. Well, I got more. Mandy says to Andy, Mandy, does laziness run in your family? Andy, no one runs in my family. Here's one. Last week I saw a wolf. Where? No, just a regular wolf. No, that's good enough for now. That's good enough. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, AARP. I keep my subscription going. So this is the choice. The choice is this. We look out at the world and it's depressing. And it's good that, we can be positive and all that, which we have to be. But it is depressing. And so sometimes I'm like, oh my God, why don't we just end it all? And then sometimes I'm like, you know what, but we're still in this fight, So I wrote this when I thought we were still in the fight. And I really do believe we are. But we have choices to make. And some of us are already doing this. So you may say, well, Michael, you're preaching to the choir, but sometimes the choir needs to be reminded. Because the times are dire in as much as they are. And then life is still good. And so we're always walking that balance. So in our world, and just to know that by not making a choice, we're still making a choice. But in the modern world, in our contemporary times, and I'm putting that in quotes, time is considered linear and spatial, which means that you can waste it, you can run out of it, and you can equate it with money. So we're told all the time that civilization is progressing, and so progress is measured in technology, in technological goals. And yet, that's only one way of conceiving time. We say our thing about the Cherokee, and we say it very nicely, but we know we took the land. The land was taken, and it was stewardship. We tried to wipe them out. It is what it is. That's what happened. But we can learn, obviously, from Aboriginal peoples and Native folks and European. We can learn from each other. However, Native peoples consider the dream time just as important, or if not as more real, as our waking time. And that's another legitimate way of exploring time. So I was thinking the other day that just perhaps, now these are my musings, I'm not the only one who thinks this way, but maybe that what we're going through, the development of the modern industrial of our civilization, may be part of a natural cycle. Now, historians are just starting to get in touch with some of this, archaeologists, but civilizations come and go. If the United States were a young empire, Rome last, we could destroy ourselves, and that's the way, we're just going to do it more quickly. But civilizations do come and go. And so perhaps I'm thinking that this doesn't definitely have to happen, but the evolution of our society, the development of consciousness, being more aware, woke, call it what you will, maybe this is perfectly timed and just purposeful as part of our evolution. Now that doesn't mean that we won't blow ourselves up or there'll be some, what do they call it now? An extinction event. It doesn't mean that a big asteroid won't hit us or climb. It doesn't mean that. But it does mean we have choices individually and collectively. And it's easy to forget that and throw our hands up in the air, that we can make choices to steer the ship, if you will, where we want to go. Now, I'm not saying it's a program like the Matrix. I'm not saying that we live in a simulator, even though there are some quantum physicists who are saying that, oh, this is a simulated program, and that we are just in it. And they can argue very eloquently about that. I don't know. I have to read more about that. But maybe we are in a sequence, like you were in your womb, in the mother's womb, in fetal development, where the mother transmits signals to the infant at precise intervals until the child is born. You know, that does happen. Right now, I believe, now next Sunday is a different thing. But right now, at 25 of 12, I believe, I'm being facetious, but I do believe that we are in the birth canal. That we're approaching a new threshold of awakening. It's the next phase of evolution for our species. Because I look at the political situation, geopolitically as well as domestically. You know, I talk about that stuff. I wish I was an envoy maybe in my next life. But I think that if it was really as dire as politically as we're being told it is, then people wouldn't have to cheat. Right? If it was really that bad, then why do you have to cheat to sway people? Anyway, I'm just putting that out there. But a new world is being born. And I think that we are in the birth pangs, and it doesn't eliminate that we may just go bye-bye. It doesn't eliminate that. But it does mean that we are, because some people are going to hold on to this old paradigm for dear life because they don't want change for many reasons. But in quantum, if we use quantum physics as an illustration, we are realizing the union of Western science and Eastern metaphysics. You know, and it plays into that kind of stereotype of the East as the land of mysticism and so on. You know, but there's something to that. I mean, my theology is very much infused with Eastern thought. So here in the West, where most of us are born and raised, science begins with the observation of the physical phenomena. In other words, we're working from the outside in. And we now see that maybe that's not really nice to do. Mysticism starts in the other direction, from the inside out. It begins with our subjective experience, what we perceive, and opens us up to the world in its totality. So as we approach the edge of this abyss, which is very real as far as it goes, these forms of knowledge, the East and the West, are fusing together, and they're merging and they're unifying. And I believe that this is part of the prophetic shift that we are undergoing at this time in history. Yes, Native peoples talk about, the Hopi talk about there have been 3 destructions of the world prior to this. We know that in Genesis before the flood, we know that the Sumerians and the Assyrians were talking about a time way before Genesis, way before the flood. So there's a lot going on, and we also have to remember that just because someone prophesies it, again, it doesn't mean that it has to happen, because we have what? We have choices. And if we look at the world according to Hinduism and Buddhism, it's full of illusion. They call it Maya. Similarly, a man of the West, Carl Jung, saw the world as a projection of the psyche, right? A story of imagination. William Blake considered imagination to be human existence. He also said that in the universe there things that are known and things that are unknown. And in between there are doors. I love that. In between there are doors. Einstein said that imagination is more important than knowledge. Because what? Knowledge is limited. Knowledge is limited. And imagination encircles the entire globe. So I say all that to say that, in other words, when we deepen our consciousness or awareness, the world shifts. Again, it's not philosophy, it's physics. Now, it's not the old Newtonian, Cartesian model. It's the physics of civilizations that our Congress will be talking about this Wednesday. A Course in Miracles. Remember, it didn't say the Course in Miracles, there are other paths. It's a Course in Miracles. The channeler reminds us that projection makes perception. In other words, how we see life is how life will treat us. And so the quote is, the world you see is what you gave it, you being unity to. The world you see is what you gave it. Nothing more than that. But though it is nothing more than that, it is nothing less. Therefore, to you, it is important. It is the witness to your state of mind. Now, that means we are crazy. But it is the witness, and we're running around like we're not. But let me get back to the quote. It is the witness to your state of mind. The world is an outward picture of your inward condition. As a person thinks, so does she perceive. Therefore, seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world. Perception is a result and not a cause. Buddhism points to the same perspective. Now, this again, this doesn't mean that if you're an activist, you don't go to the Emmett Till thing, or you don't go to climate. No, it doesn't mean that. But you go with it in a different spirit. There's a bounce in your step because you know that I'm a change maker. I'm a change maker. That's our mission. I'll get to that in a way. We're like midwives to this new world. But we can no longer allow ourselves to be carried willy-nilly by the forces of history because we've reached a juncture, and I know Harry went to see it, and Oppenheimer is all the rave now, and we're getting ready to, we could have a little extinction event, in Ukraine. It could happen, but we've reached a juncture that in order to survive, we have to change. We have to become co-creative with this evolutionary process that I am talking about. So, but that means we have more power than we think we have. See, religion took that from us, at least in the West. And we can take responsibility for the plots and the twists and the turns. And this requires intentionality. You can't just go. And we can't think about it all the time because then you don't get up in the morning. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that we have to be intentional. We have to envision the world that we want. And there are different ways to go about it. Everyone does not have to drink ayahuasca. You can. I certainly don't want to discourage you, but you don't have to. Or you don't have to explore every new healing modality or every new workshop that comes up, or to explore esoteric parts of reality. You can. I know I did a lot of this stuff, but you don't have to go there to open your consciousness. There are many different pathways to self-knowledge and happiness. Many. I will also, while I have you a captive audience, I will also say that it makes no sense, at least not to me, to differentiate between, well, this is spiritual and this is not. This is spiritual and this is material, or this is spiritual and that's political. It's all the same. It's all the same depending on how you look at stuff. But these are not opposites. Again, we learned that from bad religion. We learned that from bad theology. And so the separation, now this is, the separation between spirituality and matter was absorbed into so-called New Age spirituality. I don't like the term, this is new thought. None of this stuff is new. Ecclesiastes tells us there's nothing new under the sun. We're just rediscovering stuff. But there is the critique of New Age spirituality, and there's some truth to it. It's a little self-centered. You know? I see auras, I got my crystals on, and you know, I meditated and I did all that. And, but what does that help the rest of us? You know what I mean? What about the rest of us? Well, look, I got mine, you can get yours. The separation, okay, so we gotta go beyond that now. We gotta go beyond. I remember in seminary, but it was about UUism. They couldn't get it. One of my professor in systematic theology, and she couldn't get it. She kept saying, reading my papers, she kept saying, I was like, please don't fail me. And she said, well, where's your authority? See, she wanted me to say God. But the God in me is my authority. This is Unitarian Universalism tells me this. And she didn't fail me. I did pretty well. But, I was a little scared because they couldn't get it. Well, look what they did to Yeshua. They couldn't get it either. But I didn't think they were going to do to him what I thought they were going to do to me. No. But they couldn't get it. They couldn't. Well, where's your authority come from? It's coming from me. I am responsible. Any God in Jesus is in me, and you, or whoever. You got to keep remembering that, because they'll take it from you if they haven't already. But you have a good taste to come here on Sunday. So the separation between spirituality and matter, that's where we were, okay? Because I go off a little bit. So, we must grow beyond to make a spiritual commitment to our human family as a whole. I'm not saying that we're not doing it here. I'm just saying we need to be reminded of it. Because the earth now is our community. And it's very difficult. It's very difficult to imagine how this is going to happen. To have this rapid systemic transition for people to wake up. And even though it seems unlikely, you got to keep hope alive, because this is a post-industrial, ecologically suicidal, hyper-individualist, unjust society. And I'm not even talking about this, the material industrial entertainment. Well, and Eisenhower took this word out, congressional complex. He took that out. If you know the story, he said that when at his speech, he said, I'm already fighting the military industrial thing. I don't want to fight Congress either. But he saw that way back then. This complex, it's like David fighting Goliath. But we can do it. We can establish in its place a system that supports the collective health of humanity as we try to restore the biosphere. I mean, how much more of this smoke are we going to be breathing in? We must find technical as well as social solutions, though, because there's this idea that we have to maintain life as we know it today, but we need a new paradigm. We can't keep, capitalism just doesn't work anymore. If it ever worked. Now, it's nice to have, and you got your little stocks and whatnot, but in the end, it will doom us. It will doom us. And so we've got to start thinking about that, because life either flourishes or blooms, evolves, or it gets stagnant and stale. We want to sustain the current way, but we can't. The earth is telling us that we can't keep doing what we're doing. And so the rhetoric of sustainability tends to support the status quo. I wish I could call Biden, Mr. President. We can't keep doing this. Hello? Hello? But you know what I'm saying? And all of them, not just Biden, all of them. I mean, so nothing nothing could be further from the truth. There's going to have to be some changes, but nobody wants to hear that. We need a regenerative society, and we need it now. A new way is coming, though. A regenerative society as opposed to the consumerist one. In a consumerist society, I don't have to say anymore. It's right there in the word. In a regenerative society, by contrast, we apply the technology. We need technology. AI's coming. Get over it. It's coming. It's here. If you got robots asking you to tell them, the robot, that you're human, that's AI. I was doing it yesterday. How many buses do I see? I'm not a robot. I'm not a robot. The robot's asking me. And I'm yawning. And so the focus is not on accumulating wealth for the few, but let's spread it around a little bit, because we won't be able to count on the corporations and our leaders. It's going to be, as we go forward, it's going to be more community stuff like you see here. That's what I think in other states and whatever, because they're not getting it. They keep making this money and they keep selling weapons. It's just, we're going to have to be the same ones. And since the 1960s, consumer society has dumbed us down, has tried to dilute the pursuit of enlightenment into a lifestyle option. People now seek enlightenment at weekend workshops. Mindfulness is taught to project managers at Google to boost their efficiency. Spirituality has become trendy. Shamanism is a fad. Westernized Buddhism. There was something on a while ago on Facebook, and Gandhi was in a yoga class, and this woman didn't know who Gandhi was, and he was like, "This is not what we had in mind. This is not yoga," and she asked him to leave. She asked him to leave. So yoga and urban shamanism, seriously, seemingly, it makes us think that we're not part of this game. I'm above that. I'm a spiritual person, and we sustain this false perception that we're not really in it. But we're in it up to our you-know-whats. The elite of our society, they tend to indulge in a feel-good version of spirituality without the sacrifice or commitment. They nibble at the edges of mysticism, toying with, I've read the 4 Agreements, Michael. I've read Deepak Chopra's The 7 Laws of Success. We're flying to Hawaii for weekend tantric workshops to enhance our orgasms. I'm like, wow. And don't get me wrong, I'm not against orgasm. I'm not against it. If you can get it, I'm with you. There's nothing innately wrong with this. But somehow they seem to avoid the surrendering of the ego. The surrendering of the ego that is meant to accompany this spirituality, as well as its political, social, and ecological dimensions. So right now, despite what DeSantis and all these brothers and sisters are saying about being woke, we better wake up. We better wake up for real, not because it makes us feel good and that spirituality is good and it assuages our guilt. We need to wake up because the ocean is 35 degrees warmer than it was in 2015. That's why we need to wake up. We are polluting every ecosystem on the planet, and somehow we've got to overcome these distractions about race and who you sleep with and if you're trans and if you're... Really? Is that all we can fight about? The ship is going under. The ship is going under. At this point, our planet's future and the lives of our children and all children depends on us and our passion and our commitment and our critical discernment on how we use the limited time and resources that we have, how we can evolve. This is our opportunity. As individuals, we can begin to see ourselves as envoys, as missionaries, not in that sense of the word, people with a mission, how about that? As midwives to a new society. That's what we are called to do, you and I. We can be catalysts for change. We just have to be able to make some sacrifices. There are many here who are constantly trying to heal themselves, and I get that, and I do get it. Healing yourself is important, but it can become a trap. It becomes a trap because you won't do anything until you feel whole, and we just don't have the time. Perhaps you need to take some risk now, especially the more conscious among us, to take some risk. And that way we can make an example for people, for other people. Perhaps we can only be truly healed when we embrace a new collective society together. Perhaps going to other dimensions mean you can only do that being more human. I was talking to someone the other day, they were talking about ascension, and I was like, what that really means. It sounds like the rapture, but they were telling me it doesn't. Multitudes of people are becoming desperate. People are scared. And as the old world collapses around them, they turn to demagogues and they choose hatred and they pursue short-sighted goals that will further damage the earth. And we need to be those folks who at least model another path. But we can only do it when we find our own path, when we find ourselves. We just can't hold hands together and sing Imagine and Kumbaya. We must demand the world and work for it. A world that works for everyone, the most desperate, the most marginalized, the most deprived. And we know in our hearts that we can do that. It will just take work. What does that mean for us? Gandhi and Dr. King, what would it look like come to mind? They remain, for me, intimidating figures because of the way they live their values and their ideals. Martin Luther King reminded us that we must collectively choose nonviolence or non-existence. Martin reminded us that whenever we unite our ideals with our actions, the kingdom and queendom of God is at hand. And Gandhi built a mass movement, and that's where King got it from, and of nonviolent activism based on satyagraha, or what he called truth force. And if you go back and read his experiments with truth, that's the name of one of the books, Gandhi's thoughts about love are so pure and unadorned. It's shocking. It's otherworldly to encounter it, much less to read about it. We have unleashed planetary catastrophe. We all have. As a species. We've created a crisis for humanity as a whole. Perhaps we've done this on some subconscious or unconscious level to force ourselves to evolve or change. I don't know, but people are complicated and it could be. But those are the choices. Evolve, to change, or die. Whatever the reason or cause, we will either squander this opportunity and fail as a species, or we will seize it intentionally and voluntarily. Together, we can do this. We can do this. This is the choice, whether you think you can do it or not. Whether you think you can do something or not, you're right either way. W.E.B. Du Bois reminds us that now is the accepted time, not tomorrow, not some more convenient season. It is today that our best work can be done, and not in some other future time or future year. Let us make the choice, you and I, today, right now, to rise to the occasion. Let's go eat. This is a hymn I think we all know, and please rise as you are willing and able, and sing our closing hymn, number 121, We'll Build the Land. Right, there it is. So, show some love to these talented singers and musicians. Show some love to the board. And we'll close with these wise words from Alice Wells. This we know. This is from Chief Seattle, but Alice knew it. All things are connected like the blood which unifies one family. All things are connected. Whatever befalls the earth befalls the sons and the daughters of the earth. We didn't weave the web of life. We are merely strands. And whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. You see, she knows. This we know. Chief Seattle surrendered his tribal lands in 1856. Have a wonderful afternoon.